Hello, Mama. How
Hi,
are you?
honey. I think I'm okay.
Oh no, don't say that. What's wrong?
It's just early, Jay. It's early.
Oh my God, you can't say that to people during a COVID moment, like our pandemic. You were like, oh, I
I
think I'm
know.
okay. I
I
know
know.
you're
I know.
not.
I
You're not
know.
an early bird. I appreciate you
No. How do
getting
how do
up.
I look though? I have my Tom Ford glasses that have an especially thick band across the top to cover these brows. Look at those. Oh my God.
Oh, they're growing back in you because you do you shave them off when you? I thought you were.
I
Did you get tired of the glue stick?
I got tired of the glue stick, and in these times, it's like I don't have to see anybody in person really, so I just shave them off, and it
Oh,
makes
and
it
then you
quite
can
easy.
get full on pretty, so you can do all sorts of brows. You can go up here. You can do
Well,
everything.
as you know, it's like I like a no brow. I always think like a no eyebrow is a lot more editorial anyway, but
That's why you were always the fashion girl, and that's what they called you. Because you always gave us fashion. Even on Drag Race, you gave fashion.
I
Like, because
just
I
don't,
love
I
a
just,
good, yeah, go ahead.
I like to I like to, I like hacks. I like to take some of the time off of it. And if I can just, editorial, this is my theory and my philosophy in life. It's not necessarily a mess.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
It's editorial.
It's
Okay.
editorial,
So,
which there was a lot of discussion with that in Cycle 9. And I got to tell you, I'm actually glad that I posted our little photo last night because I got to really pull the questions and saw a lot of common themes. There were just so many questions, and this was there's controversy, there's a lot of mystery around this cycle, which I think we can kind of debunk a little bit because there are all these theories out there. And actually, what I found was really amazing is to see Jenna and Bianca chiming in with the questions. So I hope they're live. I
oh,
hope they
really?
join us. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep looking. I would love to hear from them. I mean, I've seen Jenna a few times, and then
Uh-huh.
over the years, I saw Bianca, and she really went for it in the controversy department after her season,
Yes.
getting into
Uh-huh.
fight. Oh, I love Bianca. Me and Miss Bianca. But before we continue with this, I just want to talk about your book promotion and the donation that you're giving to the
Oh, this
And
weekend. Oh, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the donation that you're giving to the Ali Forney Center, which is very, very important. I remember about 10 years ago after I won Drag Race, one of the things that I had to, well, part of my like reign, the tour, that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Miss America does, is we went to Ali Forney and I got to talk to some kids because they are kids.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It really supports the youth, especially queer and transgender youth. And I want to hear more about that. I
Oh,
want to know
okay. I
more.
didn't expect to talk about it, but really,
Let's talk
honestly, I
about
have
it.
such a passion for the work that Ali Forney does because they, first of all, just the thought that these young kids and disproportionately within the Black community are just kicked out of their homes for
Hmm.
being LGBTQ plus, and they have nowhere to go, and they often live on the streets. And so Ali
Right.
Forney not only brings meals to these kids, but also offers housing and social programs. And so I have done things over the years with them early on in the organization and helped present awards. Like when ISIS was presented a big award, she asked me if I would present it to her. So I wrote a very, a moving speech because I believe so much in the work that ISIS has done in pulling herself up and really building a career for herself.
Hmm.
And I think she's an amazing role model for a lot of young trans, kids, really everybody. And so for me, doing something like this was important. I had to talk to my publisher because I am in pre-sale with my book, but I really felt it was an important time to give back. So just this weekend, we are all sales. My publisher will do 15%, and then I'm actually going to match them dollar for dollar. So we're really kind of doubling our efforts in bringing money to an organization that I believe in. And I've also, even with my makeup line in the past, donated tons of makeup because these young trans kids, well, actually all of them, they don't have money for makeup either. So it's
Yeah.
just important to always remember there are those that don't have, and it was really important to me. It was about that. But thanks for asking. I didn't
Wonderful.
expect to talk about it, but
Wonderful, wonderful. I think it's such an important time for us to have these conversations, and I really appreciate the fact that you're doing the donation to them. And
oh, thank
anyway,
you.
how's the book coming along anyway? Is it like how are
Oh,
the pre-sales?
oh, it's going well. Crazy Lot's gonna ramp up in July, so I can't wait to. I'll share then because that's what we release August 3rd. So August 3rd is the day. But yeah, so
Right around the
everyone's.
corner, right
It
around
is
the
around the
corner.
corner. Hopefully, people will need some entertainment still in this quasi quarantine world, and it's meant to be really entertaining and have a lot of fun with it. But I
Yeah.
can tell you, actually, talking about cycle 9, I'll segue back to that. This cycle for me, I don't know if you and I ever discussed this. I know you were probably aware of some of it, but I don't know to what extent. For me, out of every cycle I was on, from cycles 1 through 18, and you think we'd say cycle 1 was the hardest because that was the start. For me, it was
Yeah.
cycle 9. Cycle
Yeah.
9 was posed, and we'll talk because a lot of people, the questions kind of ask, so we'll answer people's questions, but there were a lot of challenges in production, which we'll get to. And for me, this was definitely the hardest cycle to work on. How was it for you? Did you find this hard?
I found it to be okay because I don't have notes with me because I'm actually in Palm Springs right now. I decided to visit some friends
Okay.
as a sort of gift to myself for
Uh-huh.
my birthday, which just happened a few days ago.
And by the way, I'm reading your comments, guys. We are going to get to makeovers and everything down there because there's tons of
Yes.
questions about Victoria. Yes, hey, Julie. I mean, I see all of you there. So we are going to get to them in 1 second, but go ahead,
Yeah,
Sutan.
but so I don't have any notes with me, and but I did get to watch bits of the season, and it all came back to me. It
Okay,
all.
can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I have, like everyone says, I have an elephant memory. I remember everything. And of
You
course I remember
do.
this
You
cycle.
do.
But this cycle, for several reasons, which some we might not even get into today, I blocked. So last
Wow.
night, yeah, for me, that's a big deal. So last night, I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing. I haven't watched these seasons forever. So when we do these chats, I remember everything. But last night I did put on season 9 or cycle 9, and I just scrolled through it really quick just to remind myself of things because it's hours. And I know this is gonna sound a little weird. I had a little PTSD, kind of going through it, seeing what was in the show versus what was not in the show, and there was a lot that wasn't in the show.
Mm-hmm.
To speaking because we're in Pride Month, this is something that just is so crazy to me because it was years ago, but to think that we were in this situation, we shot the casting on that cruise ship. Worst idea ever. I don't know who in production came up with that. Was the worst thing because we were literally on a working cruise ship. So you do know all of us, the talent, everything. We were kind of chased down by kids. We were like, oh my God, they're the Jays. Like we were literally just locked in our staterooms when we weren't working because we were on a real working cruise ship going from port to port. Awful.
Well, first of all, I hate cruise ships. Have you ever been on a
I
cruise?
had when I was growing up, I had been on a cruise ship, so I knew
Oh,
what we were kind of in
they're
for. It's
dreadful.
like
They're dreadful.
and try shooting a show on a cruise ship when you're like recognizable. I remember we were literally locked in our rooms during our free time. It was awful.
Yeah.
But the thing that really bothers me, and the reason I tie this back to pride, is and I never really experienced kind of hate. But we were doing all these Caribbean islands. I've traveled all over the world, never really experienced anything, knock on wood, horrible or major. But we found out, like when we were in one of the ports doing one of the reveals, I think it was going from the 20 whatever or 30 girls down to the first cut. Jay and I are out on the port, and then we're giving the girls new kind of like passes back onto the boat. That meant you're still in the competition.
Right.
And we found out afterwards that there were all these people because it was whatever port we were in, which I don't remember, and we didn't say on TV. It was like illegal to be gay, and they had called the police, and I
Was it
was like,
Jamaica? Was it Jamaica? Because
no, I don't know where we were. No, it wasn't Jamaica though. It wasn't Jamaica. And
oh,
we've been to Jamaica. I've never had a problem there. This was
really?
really a shock to me, and nothing happened. But then when we got on the ship, after we were done taping, they told us this whole thing had gone down. And I remember Jay sitting in my room, and we kind of, it just kind of hit me as a reality. And, you know, Miss J was just kind of like, girl, I've been everywhere and I've been in drag. I know, da 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 da. But I just was like, it just really hit me that it was a little too close to home for some weird thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was crazy.
absolutely.
So to start off the season, which turned out to be the worst season, to shoot on, it was just not a great start. And yeah, shooting
Yeah.
on the cruise ship was not fun. It was not fun. But
Well, that was really only one episode, really. I mean,
yeah, but you know,
and
the
how many?
casting takes longer. We shoot it over like 5 or 6 days. Because remember,
Wow.
the girls have the psych eval, which is one of the questions that come up because, you know, we talk about Heather in this cycle, who
Hmm.
had Asperger's, and she, you know, she went very far in the competition, and you know,
Hmm.
some of these questions, which we can dive into more specifically, but you know, one of the questions that came up as a reoccurring theme was, I thought the girls went through psych eval. Yes, they absolutely do go through psych eval, and you know, Heather was really together. Like if and we both spent a lot of time with her. She was together. She had kind of this awkwardness about her, but there wasn't really, you know, an issue that precluded her from being a part of the competition. You know,
Absolutely not. I
yes,
never, like, I knew that Heather had, you know, that she was dealing and living with Asperger's. And it was actually a very educational moment for me because I'd never heard of Asperger's before. I mean, it was a moment for me to really kind of understand it. And now I actually have family members who have the same, who
hmm
have Asperger as well, and all because of Heather. Now I suddenly am able to understand it. But
yes,
I never felt like she was that I mean, you know, there was nothing really that different about her, other than the way that some of the other girls treated her,
exactly.
because she was a loner, which I can relate to. She was a
Yeah, absolutely.
brilliant artist. In fact, I still have some drawings that she had done in one of. I always keep a journal with me, and I still have some of the drawings that Heather did. And she was a brilliant painter and
Yes.
illustrator. And so that, to me, that made sense to me. So the only people who were really making big issues about it were some of the dumbass girls
Some
that
of the
were on
dumbass
it.
girls. And we got to remember they were girls at the time as well. And
Sure.
there are some huge talented people who have Asperger's,
Mm-hmm.
and they're functioning in society. And so there was no reason for her to not be a part of the competition. And she went very far and she did produce great work. By the way, I got to give shout outs to all the people going by. I see Miss Heidi in the closet's in here, and
Oh,
you know,
hi, Heidi.
everybody.
Oh,
Haiti,
Detox is
oh
here
Heidi,
too.
how
Look
are
at
you, darling? Yeah.
Detox. Oh my god, now
Yeah,
I'm really
everybody's
looking.
on, which is
Hi
so great.
guys. Hi guys.
Hey.
Hi guys.
So, but let's dive into some questions. People had some great questions today. So the first one is Cameron period D underscore 91 said, these looks, love, and Sutan's drawings of the flora plants shoots were stunning. What was your favorite to
Oh,
see come to life? And this is what I'm talking about, guys. Sutan will come, like, I didn't ask you to do these drawings. Sutan came done, prepped. Here are
I
the drawings, and I love that they show them in the episode. I remember they actually
yeah.
zoomed into the
The
your
drawings,
drawings.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I remember because there were still quite a few of the girls there, and I remember I needed to have a certain level of focus, and I had a
It was an
team
early
that,
shoot. Yeah,
yeah, I had a team that was working with me, so I really wanted specific. So the drawing certainly helped. But remember last week when we were talking about my favorite shoots, and I said that Jasleen was my, this was one of my favorite
this is one of your
shoots.
favorite shoots.
Can I
Okay,
change my mind? Can I
you can
change
change
my
your
mind
mind week
now?
to
This
week.
was one of
Sure.
my favorite shoots. I really loved it. I loved the fact that we were able to kind of play with the idea of nature. One of my favorite looks that I did personally was, oh God, please help me, the beautiful blonde girl, the real like sort of
Chantal.
Chantal.
Yes,
There was this look,
who was baby's breath.
baby's breath, and she had such an issue, and she was all worried about it, but she just looked
There's a
so.
question right here with it too. That's the next question,
She looked so
actually.
stunning. The way the baby's
Yes.
breath just spread, and then the way that we created the thing. This was also the season that Anda and Masha was introduced. This is the
They were
first season.
introduced. They were already working on the show. They
Were
worked on
they
the
the
show.
previous season? I
Did they
think it was
work on
still
the?
Dita. It was still
Was it Dita the
Dita.
season before? I lose track a little bit, but yes,
Yeah.
Anda and Masha, you definitely saw who we love. Anda and Masha. I mean, they're an
I
amazing
hope
style
they're
duo.
watching.
I know
They
they were
are.
watching last week, but yeah. The next question actually was right about this shoot. It's from Bill_Tibbets. During the flower photo shoot, Chantal was criticized about her inability to take in both the photographers and Mr. J's instructions during the shoot. That seemed like an unfair criticism for such an early shoot. And what are our thoughts on that? I mean, I know from again, this comes down to editing, guys. I can tell you how it looked. I actually watched it last night. So I can see how it is edited, and it seems
There was a
like,
lot of back and forth between
yeah,
you
it
and the
seems like,
photographer. Yeah.
well, it seems like the photographer saying one thing and I'm saying another. Not quite how it went down. Chantel did very much get frustrated. One of the things that really happened was the photographer was trying to really pull something out of her. Typically when we shoot, I pretty much sit back and allow the photographers to kind of get things going. Often the way it's edited, it looks like I'm jumping right in.
Yeah.
But I really have to, always honor my creatives I'm working with. So that happened. And the photographer came to me in this situation and he said, I can't get anything out of her. So then it was kind of my job to step in and try little things. Because remember, I know a little more about the girls. And then the photographer would kind of jump in here or there, but it was edited to look like we were going boom, 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 boom. But Chantel was kind of a little, I can understand as a young model what it's like to get frustrated early on. And you're trying to let go. And it's a difficult place to be in front of a camera, especially when you're new to it and you're in a competition.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of that, but it wasn't as bad as people made it look. And one of my pet peeves of this cycle, I told you, I was not, this cycle, there are many things. It was one of the big conversations I had with editing out of this show after this cycle was aired. I basically just said, the editing is just unfair. Like I looked like an asshole, honestly, in a lot of episodes. like the whole shoot in the desert with the flaming car, which was an epic shoot.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that shoot was amazing. Do you remember how quickly we had to get everything done? Because at some point in the afternoon, like at around 4 p.m., I thought, yeah, it was afternoon. A huge windstorm would hit.
Yes.
And it was like
Sand
like
and wind and
it was a sandstorm, not
Miss
just
Isis
wind.
is on too. We're saying, hey
Yep.
girl.
Oh, hi, Isis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that day. I remember going to that location and
Hot as sin.
hot as sin, and it was
Yeah.
like it was like an alien world. There was nothing out there. It was just sort of this. It was like Burning Man, dry lake bed kind of thing, and you had to get it done. And we were all rushing. We were like hurrying through this because that's at around 4 p.m.
So apparently Jenna's on. People are saying Jenna is
Hi,
on as well.
Jenna.
Hey, Jenna. Which I'm so glad you're on, girl, because you're part of a lot of these questions, and we're going to address them. Which I just have to say, and not because Jenna's on right now. Jenna, who made it, kind of toward the second last episode, she for me, look, I'm like, she for me, as if she's not listening. Was really
Hi,
just
Bianca.
that model.
Bianca's
Bianca's on too. Oh, hey, Bianca. See, these are all my girls. I love them. I really love what Jenna brought to the table. Bianca, we talk about because it's all in these questions. I think we should just fly through the questions more too, just because then
let's go.
I know people take time to submit them. So, Little Miss Raina asked, this question is for Sutan. At one point, Bianca and Celicia got into it. Since you were more behind the scenes with the girls, did they ever vent to you about the drama going on in the house? You have such a kind demeanor, which I agree with. And I know you would have spilled all the tea or they would have all spilled the tea to you if they needed to vent. So what are your thoughts back from hair and makeup?
I'm not even sure if I remember any specifics of them like arguing, but I know that at that point in being, you know, working with America's Next Top Model, by that point, by working on it so many years, I had kind of found my place as a sort of den mother to a lot of girls. And it really wasn't about the tea per se. I was more concerned about their well-being and their mental health in the process. I just kind of like, I was the guy that gave them the hugs in the morning. You know, when they came to the shoot, they were like, that bitch is like fucking crazy. I'm like, okay, shh, we're gonna get you together. Everyone calm. It's okay. Go get a granola bar at the craft service. Get yourself a cup of coffee. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna do your makeup. Shut the fuck up and let's make you look gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of drama in between them. One thing I would like to talk about is the makeover.
What's the next question? The next question from Rochella57. I'm telling you, these people who were on the cycle. How did you both feel about the makeovers this cycle? Any choices you didn't agree with? Love you both. Thanks, Rochella. Okay, dive in, Sutan. The
makeovers weren't really as dramatic as some of the other seasons, I'd say. Were there anyone
who had... Bianca suffered the worst of it all? Because remember, Bianca had the red hair that was, I feel like was, I don't know, Bianca, maybe you could chime in if you're listening. Was it bleached, colored, and relaxed? I can't really remember what it was. But the thing is, the hairdresser, because Tyra had wanted this weedy, long weave for you, but when we tried to even lift any of your hair, it just started breaking. And as a fellow bleach brother,
Bianca's makeover was one of my favorites. I love the fact that she went bald because she was such a stunning girl. I think she was 18 at the time. Beautiful, beautiful features, those almond-shaped eyes that were so widespread, and the lips.
And that wasn't intended for her to, but to be honest with you, Bianca, if you'd actually gotten the weave that Tyra wanted for you, I'm going to say Tyra wanted for you, I honestly, I don't think you would have gone as far. I think that short hair, you were epic. I mean, just literally looked like high fashion to me.
She has such a beautiful face.
And then she taught herself how to smile with her eyes between episodes because the judges were saying, oh, you need to bring more to your eyes. I believe Tyra even said, you need to do that. And then there's a scene with Bianca teaching herself how to smile with your eyes. And guess what? Mirror time is not vanity. It's actually an essential for models.
Practice,
and Bianca slayed after that. Slayed.
Well, dancers have mirror time. Dancers practice in front of a mirror. I think a mirror is important if that is the type of job that you do. But Salisha's makeover was the most hysterical. I mean, friends and I till today still call her Salisha the Explorer. Because she
you really not like it? See, to me, it looks so Italian Vogue. That is actually what I agreed with.
It was cute.
Makeover.
For the time, it was fun. It was edgy. It took her there, but it's still funny now because now.
We'll be real though. In the real world, that look would have been put on a model as a wig. And then they would put it on the cover of Italian Vogue or something like that.
And then and then you would take it off. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what Tyra was trying to do was really help Salisa become edgy. And her rationale was, and I totally remember it, was she just didn't want Salisha to feel, look commercial and have the judges look at her as a commercial model. And I get it because she had such potential in terms, she had amazing proportions. She's stunning. She knew, she photographed well. So I understand why she was going there, but yeah, you can't really rock that 24/7.
No. And you know what? That it's all in hindsight now. And Salisha is doing very well. She's working as an actress now. And I follow her on Instagram and she's all doing well. But I'm glad she didn't keep that fucking haircut.
Which, I mean, by the way, this is IY Perryman 14 asked, what happened to the blonde wig that Ken Pavis made for Bianca and that she was supposed to wear in photo shoots? We never saw it after makeovers. Well, that is for our wonderful friend Christian Mark. I remember.
I think he ditched it.
He ditched it. He just said, why do we need to put this wig on her? Why, with his French accent, why do I need to work with this stuff? I actually did go to Tyra and I said, I understand this was the look you wanted. Christian feels like it's really going to be a hindrance and really be a problem for Bianca, and it's not fair
Hmm.
to put this on her. And so Tyra said, fine. And speaking of fine, what Christian is so fine. I mean, I love that man.
You know,
Talented as
how
fuck.
you know, and speaking of Anda and Masha, I mean, that was the season that we all got to meet each other, and the four of us, Christian, myself, Anda, Masha, became very, 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 very tight. And then the next
Yeah,
few
yeah, yeah.
seasons after, in fact, so tight that Christian and Anda had a baby together,
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Julian. So you know, America's Next Top Model, creating
There were
families,
a lot of top model babies,
bonds.
actually. Yeah, there were several. Let's see. Samantha B337 asked, oh, this is a common question. There are several. Sorry if I didn't pick your question, but a lot of people ask the same question.
Okay.
Did Celicia win because of her past with Tyra? I really felt Chantal should have won the season when they were in the final two. How do you feel
Hmm.
about that? I mean, what I know from the production standpoint, that Tyra made a point in the room to say to the team that Celicia should be treated as an equal and not because she was in T-Zone camp years ago.
Okay.
But, you know, so there was no pre-planned destiny for Celicia to win. And that's the big conspiracy that people read online, is that Tyra had already made that mind up, made that decision beforehand. And that's actually not the case.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you, because one of the fears as Celicia moved forward in the competition and we were down to that final group, I remember Tyra saying, oh, you know, Celicia's doing really, really well. If she wins, everyone's going to think that this was because I pushed it, you know?
All of this conversation that we're having right now, this specific one is very relatable to me because I had in my experience with Drag Race,
Drag Race, yeah.
I already had an existing sort of friendship with RuPaul. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I wouldn't call her and ask her for money or talk about boy problems, but we had a relationship. We knew
Yeah,
each other. She had been to the club, so people immediately kind of just decided that I was,
predestined winner. Yeah,
predestined winner, and I don't always agree with that. I think that they kind of wanted to change things up, and sometimes in the industry we have pre-existing friendships with people or
exactly.
awareness of each other. And from what I remember of that season of season 9, Celicia killed it.
She was
Now,
dope as fuck. And the thing is,
yeah.
when it came to even the final runway, which we can get to later, but Chantal also had a great body of work. And Chantal actually reminds me of a new friend of mine. Her name's Maritza. They have like the same kind of vibe and look, but and she's a successful model. But when I look at Chantal and Celicia and their work and going into that final runway, Celicia owned her confidence 1,000%. She slayed her walk.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no shade on Chantal. I do,
No.
it's no shade at all. It's just in that moment with any major job, if you get you know, two models side by side, the person who's slaying in that moment is probably who you're going to lean towards. That's just kind of what it is, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Um, what other shoots did we do that were very important before we went to China?
Well, we talked about the in the desert shoot. What do you mean
The
important?
floral,
The
or just the ones that
florals.
were like super epic shoots that we did. Because all I remember from that season is going to China.
Yes, and we could take a second and explain why China was miserable to shoot in. We talk about the censorship within China. I can tell you from a production standpoint. I don't know if it happened to
By the
your
way,
female.
I am drinking wine, and it's 9:30 in the morning. Judge
Yes,
me.
wine in the morning. I love it. Um, I can tell you, production. We had a lot of problems because the government they really monitor your IP addresses,
Oh yeah.
and we literally did get our emails, one by one, just shut down. So I
Oh.
lasted actually pretty long until like the last 6 days of production, and then our emails just got shut down because they wanted to control the information flow. It was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I was also dealing with a translator, and the government in booking that final runway show, because they've never allowed American cameras to shoot in something that is a very special venue that you had to honor. And so definitely the hours sitting and working with government officials to secure that final runway location, and the creative that I was trying to sell in terms of honoring the Chinese culture and et cetera, it was kind of really difficult to kind of go through, especially when we were dealing with other things. Like I believe Miss J was supposed to do a meet and greet with the girls, and he showed up kind of in drag.
And they were like, no, no, no.
Oh no, they shot it, but there were officials there. They were alerted. They showed up, like I believe it was, I don't know if they were police, but they were just like a bunch of officials showed up, stormed the set because they were out in like a market or something, and they pulled because the cameras ran like DVD discs. They pulled all the discs out of the cameras. Did you know that?
No.
Yes, the government, like they literally took all the discs. So that's why
they were like hell. They were like hell no.
Hell no, you can't do this here. Nope. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the most epic photo shoot that I've ever done in my life, and I talk about it constantly in interviews, was the Great Wall of China.
Yes.
That to me was. I mean,
the creative was you, Sutan. Sorry, you, Christian, Anda, and Masha slayed the creative, because I remember the samples I gave you for the shoot were just these tear sheets from different high fashion magazines. We wanted to bring this kind of high fashion warrior look, really to kind of realize that vision, so Tyra could shoot it. And I give all of the props to you guys for that shoot, because you guys nailed the vision. I mean, it was probably one of the best styled and executed shoots probably in the history of the show.
Well, we went deep. We went deep beyond like what we saw as China being. There's the stereotypical or just the typical idea of what China is. And China was just, it's cheongsam, silks, and
Jenna just said it was a really fun day. She goes, it was a fun day. I'm like, Jenna, were you really there? Because I remember we were shut down for a good 3 hours because the same officials came. They literally unplugged our generators so we couldn't shoot. Yeah, those officials were, they were on us.
Yeah. Also, what was interesting about China was that the level, and I'll never forget it, is the amount of smog. I mean, like,
the humidity was,
and the humidity. I think the smog kind of made the humidity even worse. Is that possible?
It was definitely hard to breathe. It was like monsoon season. I remember that. And it was just that's why it always looked cloudy out, but it was just this smog in the air. And it was so unbearably hot. You sweat in places you didn't know where you sweat. And that's why actually most of the season, I remember there were clothes that I was supposed to wear and it was just way too hot. I just threw on anything. I looked a hot fucking mess. I always had a hat on, mismatched, and we were hot as... It was just way too hot. It was awful.
Steamy. It was steamy. And that day it was an entire day that we spent at the Great Wall. And I had to keep reminding myself, Sutan, you're at the Great Wall of China.
Doing a photo shoot,
Doing a photo shoot with her. And I had to like let go of the misery of it because there was multi-layers of misery. I think I still have a sweatshirt that I got that says I went to the Great Wall of China.
Great Wall of China. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
But it was an epic time. I mean, we got to shoot at the Forbidden City, which is where we pretty much did
we did the final runway, which was days of negotiation, and we didn't even get approval. We didn't get approval till a couple days before. And then I actually had to map out how I was going to do everything that honors the culture.
Right.
And then we did like a walkthrough a rehearsal, which we don't put on camera. And I even showed how I was going to bring the judges down into the positions, which I had stand-ins do. So yeah, the officials kind of watched my entire rehearsal and said, okay, you've got to run it exactly like this.
Oh my God, that is so frightening.
Which I understand.
Remember all those extras? There was like hundreds of
extras, yeah.
Where did those guys come from?
They talked about with Chantal, one of her trains kind of, it wasn't her fault. The train floated to the right, caught the stilts of one of the performers. The performer flew up and fell on their back, which of course in edit, they kind of show it 3 times, like,
Yeah, but that guy was like a professional. He was
yeah,
like, "Oh, I've fallen before." He'd like jump back up and did his little like
I
dance on the
got it. Yeah,
stilts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that didn't really affect her standing, you know. It was
Yeah.
fine. Here's a great question, and there are a lot of questions about Jenna as well. So, and I love, Jenna, that you chimed in even in my feed to answer some people. But they said, why did they push? I'm sorry, this is Eddie133 asks, why did the unrelatable narrative on Jenna? Okay, sorry. Why did they push the unrelatable narrative on Jenna? She came across relatable to the viewer. And then someone else chimed in below that question and said, yes, I want to know, why was it so hard for Jenna, you know, not to kind of, why were they so hard on her for not spewing rainbows? You know, I actually felt the same kind of frustration. I'm going to be really honest with you, even just watching it last night. And we're talking, this is years ago, because I remember my actual interaction with Jenna on set. Jenna is and was a consummate professional. I loved her look. I think I even said it in casting. She looked like in casting, like she could book a product campaign, is what I said. And
Jenna was a great model. Jenna
yeah,
was one of my favorite people to work
yeah.
with on set. Actually, all those girls, I don't think there was one girl on that season that I did not like hanging out with. Like
Mhm.
Jenna was definitely like my pal.
Yeah,
And she
yeah,
was
yeah.
very, very likable. She was very like into it, and she was very enthusiastic about things. So I don't know. I just, I thought she
Yeah,
was fantastic.
so no, yeah, Jenna, so Jenna, I personally loved working with you on set. I think you probably know what our energy was like. And for me, you were serving it. And you know, I think the critique that kind of comes across in the judging, you know, truly, you know, at times, yeah, we're trying to produce a reality show. And unfortunately, because, you know, in the real world of modeling, do all top models have the, you know, they might be a little shy. They might be, you know, even Tyra
Right.
admitted it early in her career. She was the shy, awkward girl, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
so you're
yeah.
not expected to have, you know, certain personalities. So anyway, that was my feeling. That's also why I loved working with Bianca, because she took, you know, constructive criticism and always figured out a way to make it work. One of the
Hmm.
kind of the heartbreaking things for me, you know, it was Ambrielle, because, you know, she kind of, I think in the edit of the show,
Oh,
people
I loved
felt,
Embrielle.
yeah, she felt it kind of was positioned that I was her arch enemy. And I think one of the girls even said to her, "Are you ready to go work with your arch enemy?" And I'm like, you know, when I was watching that last night, I was like, again, it was kind of a bit of a sting, because that's not how I worked with Ambrielle. She was
Hmm.
somebody that I absolutely saw. I saw her spirit. I saw who she was.
Hmm.
And then, you know, as we're working, you know, you need to, you know, I can help, but then sometimes you also have to push. And the
Yeah.
editors would use the cut with the push. And if I was babying her too much, I would get certain producers coming over to my ear saying, we need a little more out of you. You know, you can't just help the girls. You know, they wanted that. Well, you know, you've seen it happen. They come right
Welcome
over to
to
me.
reality TV.
Yup.
Yep.
They
It's
come right on
not.
over and said,
It's.
Jay, you know, we need a little more, a little something. Like, what are you really thinking?
You know, one
Yeah.
of the challenges that really I'm so envious about that I watched while I was at home, was when they got to do the like martial arts and they got to
Yes, in the
fly.
wire. In the wire. Yes. I know.
Bitch, I want to
I
do
would live to
that.
do that.
I know. Did you get it? Did they let you put the harness on?
No, I didn't do. I've done it elsewhere. I didn't do it there. But I totally remember that. That was an awesome experience for them. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
and
for
Bianca
sure.
freaked out and she was like, I
I
can't. I'm
can't.
like,
I
oh
can't.
my
I
God,
know.
I wish I could
Well,
do
it's
that
weird
better.
because you're putting your kind of life in someone else's hands to trust they're going to land you. You know,
Yeah.
there's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Chic. I can't read this one. Chic Aparezi, I guess, asked, how did you guys feel about some of the bullying with Heather? Even Tyra told Bianca on the Tyra show afterwards that she might not have made it as far if she knew what was going on. You know, I, you know, I wasn't aware there was that level of kind of discord or kind of bickering going on at the house. We're not really kind of made aware of that stuff unless it's
Yeah.
something big goes on and it floats through production, because shit spreads through production like
Yes. Yeah. I when I was watching this season again, Bianca was 18 years old. 18.
Yeah,
I have a niece who just graduated from high school who's
yeah.
18. And
We're learning stuff at that age.
yes, you barely know anything, and to be thrown into this environment where all of a sudden you're like, and she was a very, very strong girl. She had
Hmm.
very high opinions, and she wanted to win, and part of her insecurities as an 18-year-old really kind of showed through, and that's really what you're seeing. It's not
Hmm.
and and to be honest, it was a long time ago. We
Yeah,
weren't having these conversations about Asperger, about trans experiences. It was
no.
still a very, this was a long time ago. And so,
And what I can say about Bianca, you just being with her and experiencing her spirit, she's, oh, there she is, Bianca. Bianca, Bianca girl, we know you've got a good heart. Like, because you could feel her heart.
oh
You know
my
what I mean?
God.
Like, Bianca had that heart. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
before,
that's what I
before,
love. She was just unapologetically herself
yeah.
around me. And so I personally appreciated, her heart. And
Oh, yeah.
thank God, when I was 18, there was no such thing as social media, because again, I'm 47. There was no social media. There were no reality shows. Heaven for fucking bid I would have had social media. Like, God knows
And there
what.
and there was none for them either, I mean, Bianca
No,
at
well, they were
18.
on a reality show, is what I'm saying. So it's like,
Right, right,
you're like,
right.
we didn't even have that. Imagine what shit we would have done at 18. We grow, we learn, right? So,
Yeah. I think it's one of the most important seasons because it did start that conversation. It really kind of made me understand what, again, I already said it earlier, but it made
yeah.
me understand what Asperger is, and so anyway.
Yeah. So next question is sourness underscore 95. Thank you, by the way, girl. You always write tons of questions and everything. She said, thank you for doing these recaps. Very excited to hear about the season 9 drama. There were so many questions she put here. I got to pick one. Did Ambrielle really flush Jenna's weave down the toilet? Jenna, chime in. Did she really flush her weave down the toilet, girl? I don't really remember. Was that really, really for real, for real?
What?
And I love that Bianca's here. She's like, Jenna, I miss you. But I love that. So we'll find out
Yeah.
the answer to that. Maybe Jenna, if you could
Well,
chime in with that.
Bianca, I'm reading here. Bianca is like Heather wasn't bullied, and that could make some sense too, because there's always editing, and Heather was a very, very timid sort of girl, and in a group of people who were very with giant personalities, it may have
Yeah.
seemed like her intimidation, and maybe
Oh, and she
in the
goes, yes,
editing.
she did flush it. So Jenna, thank you for chiming in. She did flush it. She's like, let's flush this, weave down. But
Oh
yes,
my
Sutan,
God.
as you were saying, yeah, I think everyone's talking about that famous shower scene where I guess Heather, I don't know if you recall, Heather called she was going to take a shower first, but then Celicia was in there, and I know Bianca was outside, and so Heather storms into the shower, and there's like this whole moment. But I think I think that's maybe what a lot of people are talking about that scene. I don't know, but
Well, America's Next Top Model is not a reality in the sense of like what actual modeling is like. For instance, like I saw the episode where they all got to their house in China, and then Heather didn't get a bed, and everyone kind of like got a
yeah.
bed, and then she didn't, and then everyone kind of gave her a bed. But in the honest world of modeling and in the industry, it's like you're not always going to have your hand held and babied through the entire
No.
process, and she kind of was a little late to getting a bed, and so I guess Bianca, maybe you're right, maybe she wasn't
Yeah.
bullied. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of things I don't know because I wasn't there.
Yeah, there was a lot of Bianca questions there. I think we answered them. Again, people are saying, do you think the top two deserve to be the top two? If you could replace one, ooh, sorry, this is Eddie133. If you could replace one, who would it be and with whom? I think that's a very unfair question because, I think this was a season where the group of girls as a whole were so strong. And it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, you know, with any show, like I even watch, you know, like Drag Race right now, like All Stars 5. Honestly, I mean, how the fuck do you choose who goes home? Because now we're not even talking about modeling. We're talking about the level of talent and creativity when it comes to makeup, wardrobe, presentation, performance. Like it's just overwhelming, and you've got to kind of, someone has to go home. But if you look at the whole, you know, it's like those are some talented
Yeah.
girls, right?
Does anyone know what's happened to Lisa? She was such a beautiful girl. Is that her
So
name?
Lisa actually,
The
yeah, Lisa is actually working her ass off. And what I love about Lisa, and one of the things she said early on in the season was, she's like, I'm going to be on the cover of Vogue one day, and I'm determined, and I will get there. And you know, especially now with the discussions that we're having, you know, around race and what real inclusivity is, and how much, you know, how many, especially all women of color, you know, from, you know, black, brown to fair skinned, all kind of get pushed out. But I can tell you, Lisa is someone who has a tenacity and a stick-to-itiveness. And I love seeing her at New York Fashion Week, walking the runways, doing her
so
thing.
she's still working.
She's working, she's
Good for
modeling
her.
and looking stunning as
Oh, I
ever.
bet.
Oh
I
my
bet.
God, working the runway like a pro,
Yeah, she
like a
was a
pro.
beautiful girl, and
Yes.
I actually she was really sweet too. I remember that. I remember, didn't she have a baby, and like she was really worried
I
about.
don't
I feel like there were like
remember.
every season someone had a baby that they were trying
I
to
don't
like.
remember if it was her. But yeah, but
She
yeah,
was a stripper.
Lisa's working. Yeah,
Hmm.
working up a ton. So the Moon Geek asked, you guys teased about some China tea last week. So what happened in China? I think we talked about it. It was just a difficult place to shoot. It was hot, smog, government officials. They pulled the discs one day. They shut down generators. They shut down shoots. They really wanted to control the content, you
Hmm.
know, being
Hmm.
that country. But
I
in the same,
just,
yeah, go ahead.
I just saw a question about Twiggy and Victoria, and I that was one thing that I saw
Mm,
while I was recapping on all of these was Victoria was really defensive because
yes.
I was there, I was at the judging, but
Hmm.
on set, she was
There's
kind
a
of like,
question about that too.
yeah, she
So
was
I'm
just
gonna
kind of
pull it
a
up.
she was just kind of a nice girl, but then when she got onto the judging panel set, she
Uh-huh.
really came for Twiggy quite a bit, and I'm not sure what that was about.
I think it came from a place, you know, some people, you know, we always have to look at what motivates people in doing what they do. And I learned that a lot even in writing my book, because I interviewed psychologists and understanding psychology around characters. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always a reason why, you know, we kind of do things. And so I think for her, it might have been a lot of kind of awkward uncomfortableness, could have been pain of some sort. You know, and one of the questions here, and I just found it, this is from I am King JER, said, rumor has it that Victoria took off her shoes during her elimination moment, and Tyra thought she was going to attack her with the shoes. So she called for
Oh,
her
that's
security
right.
guard immediately. Is that true? Hell yeah, it's true. It absolutely is true. So we are debunking that. She did, because Victoria scared the shit out of everybody, I think. And she literally went down like this. One, look, I'm taking my flip flops off. Two, and she held her shoes like this and went, mm. And Tyra
I'm
did
gonna get
always,
you.
she had security, and there was a look to the security, and the security moved up right to the edge of the set. I
My
absolutely remember that.
wait. First of all, can we talk about Tyra's security? Remember, he was like Britney Spears' Manny.
Well, she had different security, so I don't remember
No,
which
there
one
was
was
that
there though.
hot blonde one, the big one that was really friendly. He was like this Marine guy who was blonde, and he
Oh, I
was,
remember him. He did like 4 cycles or so.
yeah,
Yeah.
he used to be Britney Spears' a Manny. Remember, he was in a
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know
He
that.
was so hot. Anyway,
Yeah, he
Tyra,
definitely was. And he was fun too. He knew he
he
was at
was
work, but when
fun.
he had free time, he was like, I'm not supposed to hang, but you guys are cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so this is
yeah.
ad Francis 24 says, does the modeling agency have any input on who they would like to win since they become their representative? They really don't. I think that was a frustration for the modeling agencies, because
Mm-hmm.
they would try to float opinions, but that really didn't have a factor. So that's that. And then another one from a Centeno 0427. Do the judges know about all the craziness going on at the house and the photo shoots? The photo shoots, yes, because I explained this a few weeks ago. I would fill out like a sheet at the end of every
Mm-hmm.
shoot and have each girl, and I would talk
Mm-hmm.
about her pros and her cons for the shoot. And anything that I experienced. Sometimes I didn't have a negative. Like I just saw Bianca float by. And I remember the first day Bianca came on set and she was smizing and serving. I remember I just like, it was like the best shoot ever and I had nothing negative to say. So those things do go forward, but the house, not really. I'm sure Tyra got bits and pieces just whispered in her ear. I'm sure. Actually,
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the rest of them, no. No. So Sydney or like Sydness99 said, I love this. I have a question. Oh, it's back to makeover week. Poor Bianca, that child went through makeover madness. And then, but she's also asking what our favorite shoot is. But I think you said to me, what was your favorite shoot this season? Was it the flowers or was it?
There was a few. There was a
It's the Great
few.
Wall, but it's the Great Wall is, I guess, ultimately your favorite shoot.
Yeah, the Great Wall was my favorite shoot just because of the location. It was for what it was. It was a relatively fun day for all of us. Like it was
Mhm.
just kind of like an outing, and it was. I remember walking up. Like we took a break and we were walking up the Great Wall of China, which is not just a wall. It's just miles and miles and miles of
I love when you say a
stairs.
break. You mean when they shut us down?
Yeah.
Um, I see. For me, it was stressful because I didn't know if we were going to be able to get through the whole shoot
Yeah.
or get it done.
But some
And
of
they
my
were coming
most
to me like, "What's your backup if we get kicked out of here?" And I was like, "I don't have a backup today." So
the best BTS photos that I've ever taken from Top Model were definitely the ones that we took
yes, I've
together.
got
And
great
yeah.
BTS photos too. Like I've got a great
Hmm.
picture. It's like me in the middle, and then it's Bianca, Jenna, Celicia, and Chantal, and it's just the five of us like in one of those doorways, and they're all still made up. And oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that shot. Maybe I'll have to post it on social. Maybe I'll post it in my stories after because it's fun. Um, TV Junkie 17 wants to know, was Ambrielle really that bad? Oh, and did Celicia have an unfair advantage? They're talking about the previous modeling experience. Um, and then she asked about, at the end was, I just never got the impression that Victoria was actually really interesting in modeling. He said, I think that is interesting. I don't know if Victoria 100% wanted to model,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't know. I think it's all sort of like, it's like the men who date me. They're initially enamored by the concept, but then
Uh-huh.
once they get there, they're like, wow, this is really complicated and weird, and I don't want to do this anymore.
Complicated
So,
and weird how? Because you do drag, but you're very much a man. So I don't
well,
get
no, I'm
it.
just saying, just my personality. You know, I'm. It's all glittering and fun, and I'm dynamic. And then once you get to know me, then they're like, "Oh, that's too much, too much.
Really?
She's too
Oh, that's so
dramatic.
sad.
There's too much drama here." So
Oh
I think
no.
that was Victoria's experience with Top Model. I think she was just kind of enamored by it, and she somehow made it. And once she got there, she was like, "Oh, this is too much. Like, this is I can't take it. This
Oh.
competition is too dramatic." And
I can't
don't
believe
feel
you compared
don't
that to your love life. Oh
don't
my
feel
God.
sorry for me. I
I
know what's
don't.
going
I know how amazing you are. That's why. Um, Brian, oh, I can't read this one. Okay, it's because it's not Brian. It says Brian Kostox
Mm-hmm.
asked, is it crazy to see that Ebony left? It says C, maybe that meant say, but it says, is it crazy to see that Ebony left the competition? She was taking amazing photos. She said she was not happy. So do you think that was the real reason she left, or was it because she couldn't handle authority? I think I think Ebony, we've got to remember where Ebony came from. And she talked about it very openly in casting. She was,
Mm-hmm.
her mother had a drug problem. She was raised by her grandmother. She had all these very, very serious things, happen in her life. She was still processing it. Remember, you got to
Mm-hmm.
remember, these girls are young. So
Babies.
yeah,
Babies.
baby. So she was still processing a lot of trauma in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess not. probably having, I guess, finding that right fit for an authority figure. I wouldn't say she had a problem with authority, but what I
Mm-hmm.
saw on set, and I'm talking about the full shoot, not what you guys see edited into 12 minutes, but I saw Ebony slowly every shoot kind of come on the set, questioning herself more, struggling
Mm-hmm.
more, not being very, very happy. Was she stunning? Does she have an amazing body? Yes. But
Oh,
modeling
she
comes from
was
within.
beautiful.
Yeah. But
I was very sad to see her go.
yeah.
But you could definitely feel her insecurities in the
Yeah.
process and while
Yeah.
she was there. And I attribute all that to just youth. You know, we are
And you're in a
also,
pressure cooker of this stupid show where you're, no, it's not stupid, sorry, I shouldn't say that, but you're in the pressure cooker of being in this show at a time when you're processing serious things about your life. You have
of
a microphone pack
course.
on all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
and when they're not rolling, you're told not to talk. And then at night, when the girls are demiked, and the girls in there will tell you, literally when they say lights out, it goes lights out. And then literally a
Lights
sound
out.
guy comes around and takes your mics away, and then you're not allowed to talk. But I want to know, Jenna, Bianca, you guys are all in here right now. I says, but did y'all whisper afterwards? That's what we want to know, because I would. Shit,
I
if I was
bet.
demiked, I'd be like, girl, if you, Sutan, if you were there, I'd be like, Sutan, that shit today, you know, but like, I'm sure I would keep
I
talking
bet. I
afterwards.
mean,
I would be in trouble.
now being a reality contestant myself, like I can't imagine myself being in a house with other people and having to be like bed to bed to bed to bed. Like you don't even get your own fucking
Because in
room. Like
Drag Race, do you guys get to go home or to a hotel?
we go to a hotel. There's a
Go
hotel
to a
that's
hotel, yeah.
sort of reserved, and you get one entire floor of it typically, and then the
Yeah.
rooms are all, you know, but you get your own room.
Yeah, you get your own room, yeah.
It's not like these girls where they had to actually
Oof,
sleep next to
I
each other.
couldn't.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah, I
So,
would have gotten in so much trouble. I'd probably be the first to go. I'd be talking. I get in all sorts of trouble. Someone here's this is from X, the only night X. My girl at Bianca Golden had the most emotional makeover. I shed some tears for her. However, she was even more gorgeous and divine after. Who thought it was a good idea to give her that wig? Well, we kind of talked about it. It was really because we were trying to honor the makeover Tyra wanted, and so we put it, but we never used it, so that was fine.
never used it. Never used it.
Yeah,
Wigs were so different then too,
yeah.
right? They
That was
had
actually
such.
a, it was a cancer wig too. It was where it had like, it didn't have lace, it had silicone.
Okay.
It had like a silicone thing because, you know, cancer patients, because they, you know, if you're treated with chemo, the silicone helps hold the wig in place because it kind of, it kind of sticks against the skin, if that makes sense.
Right,
So
right,
that
right.
was that, and I don't feel like that wig was appropriate.
Yeah.
Um, so this is from Disney Jakey. No one knows the girls better than you guys. So how come? Oh, and then it says in J, how come you were not part of the final panel this cycle? Because I usually sit on the final judging panel,
Oh,
and
that's
instead of there being
right.
5, there were 4. Um, I
What happened?
actually, right after final runway, I flew home. I had to fly home right after final runway. There, we'll just say, I'll just leave it at this: that cycle, there was a lot going on.
And you
And I'm
have
gonna
had
just
it. You're like, I'm the fuck
no.
out of here.
No,
Goodbye.
I hadn't had it, but it was just easier that I not sit on that final panel. And yeah, and so I went home, and we'll just leave it at that. I will say this, because people are not gonna be satisfied with that answer. I used a lot of this cycle for inspiration, not based on, just inspiration, for part of the main narrative, the main story in my novel, which is a lot of fun. So guys, when you guys are reading it, know there are a lot of bits and pieces inspired by Cycle 9. So I'll leave it at that. How about that? Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? China was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in my life. And I got to return back to China to perform in Shanghai and in Hong
Mm-hmm.
Kong
Mm-hmm.
after Drag Race. And I had already become familiar with it because I'd been there
Yeah.
before. But I
Oh my
remember,
God, we didn't talk about one thing. Sorry, finish. There's one thing we forgot to talk about, but go ahead.
but one of the things that I really loved about China was the culture itself. Like I
Oh,
loved going to the flea markets. There was this place in
or
Beijing called the Dirt Market, which only happened on Sundays, and it was called the
I totally
Dirt
remember. Yeah.
Market. Yeah, it was called the Dirt Market because everything was sold on the ground, on the
Yeah.
dirt.
Yeah.
and it had all these beautiful things that I actually wore on Drag Race, like big old like neck pieces and
Yes.
jewels and hair things and stuff. And you know, that's my favorite thing about travel is just to kind of dig into
Oh,
what the culture has
Celicia's
to
on
offer.
too. I didn't realize Celicia's here.
Celicia?
Hey, Celicia, our
Where?
fabulous winner who's gone on and been amazing. And yeah, look, everyone, I
Mm-hmm.
love it's kind of like a little reunion. Everyone's on here. We didn't talk about this is the one cycle, the only cycle, other than when we went to Tokyo and we had to pause production because the girls were sent to Guam. The one thing that nobody knows about this cycle, and there are no rumors out there, and we're going to bust this open. So, Celicia, Jenna, you guys will all know this. We actually stopped production because do you remember we were on a shoot and, you know, catering's brought out. We all ate the catering like we all do. I remember the next morning because I totally remember being, you know, get up and doing my email. And I was like, okay, my coffee is working real quick. So let me just get to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom for a number 2 of life. Woo! Like the heavens opened up. And then
I think that was a common story with a lot of us. I remember Twiggy
and then I
actually.
remember I turned around right afterwards and then started vomiting and I realized I had a fever and I called production and they sent a doctor to the room and they knew because apparently this was happening to a lot of people who were on the set the day before. And so we shut down production. And the doctor knew it was wrong because they came in, he looked at me, examined me in my room, and then he was like, oh, here. And they gave us 1 course of Cipro. And I
What's
remember it
that?
was like, it's a very powerful antibiotic. And
Okay.
literally like 36 hours later, we were like back to normal. But I remember production shut down. We had to pause production and shuffle everything. Do you remember that? Did
Because
you get sick?
I don't remember that. I did get sick, and I remember Twiggy giving me these little black herbal pellets that she found from some like holistic kind of Chinese
Oh,
medicine place, and I remember that was an issue.
my only fear
Also,
is what God
I
knows what we ate. I was
I
like,
didn't love the catering and Chinese food. I was like, can I get some Panda Express?
it was, you
That's
know, because it wasn't like the Chinese, like I love Chinese food, like great. When you go to Chinatown and have
yeah, yeah,
really good
yeah.
Chinese food and dim sum.
Hmm.
But sometimes on cater, like on set, you know, the catering they brought in, I was just like,
It
I
wasn't
really
that.
was scared about what we were eating. I don't know. It was not the Chinese food that I love. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh my God. Sensual underscore appetizer asked, they're talking about our photo that we posted for this chat.
Hmm.
You know, we're our Queen Amidala. I call it Queen Amidala look because you look fabulous. So they're saying, Jay, what is your drag name? I don't have a drag name, Susan. But
You
I would really
don't?
call that drag, but I've never like I don't have a drag name. You're gonna have to figure out one for me.
I don't think you even need one. What's the
Okay,
point?
so yeah, yeah. But someone asked that.
Like,
So
who cares?
another
You're fucking J Manuel.
oh, there's a great question for you, Sutan. It's called the Big Shabuzi 2000 said, Sutan, I really loved your sketches for the plant shoot. Where can I see a full gallery of all your AMTM sketches? Do you have them
Wow.
anywhere? That would be amazing.
I think I do. I think I do. I have volumes and volumes of journals that I haven't looked through in many years, and I know for sure that I have the illustrations that we did for the bull rank shoot in Spain. I know
Yes.
for sure we have that.
I love those
Um,
drawings you did for the bullshoot.
I'm not sure if I have the floral ones, but I'm sure they got to be somewhere. They got to be somewhere. And if
People,
I'll post them when I find them.
I've said this before, people have no idea what a supreme artist you are. And I love that you have all of these kind of archives for these drawings and because you're like 100% like an artist, like a complete artist.
Well, also at the time we didn't have social media and we didn't have a place to we couldn't just capture the
Take
image
pictures.
on
Yeah.
yeah, no, we had
We would take
handheld
point and
digital
shoot
camera.
cameras. Yeah,
Yeah.
digital cameras. We didn't have phones.
Mm-hmm.
Social
Yeah,
media
yeah,
had
yeah.
kind of started. Not really. It was mostly just MySpace and maybe Facebook, but it wasn't a thing. And we were told not to obviously post anything.
Right, right,
So
right.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still have them somewhere. I'm sure I have them somewhere.
yeah. I'm trying to think. These are a lot of these questions are we've asked and answered because they're Oh, this is a great question from Bourge 8. Jenna's weave was a complete mess, and she was being continually told at panel how she wasn't looking put together in front of the judges. Was this constant critique fair if she was never sent to anyone to fix her hair? I agree, because if you've never
Not
had a
fair.
weave, it's not fair. If you've never had a weave, you don't know how to take care of it. You can't shampoo it like it's your hair every night.
No.
Um, and I thought it was so unfair because obviously on shoots, Christian could make it look, amazing. But, if you've never had a weave, it was unfair. I
It
agree.
was
So,
unfair. You know what? Hair industry has changed so much since then. Now
oh yeah,
you can just pop on a wig and it's fine and it gives you the look and
yeah.
no one needs, there's very, very few weaves happening now these days, don't you think?
Yeah,
Do people
most
still do?
most people most people don't do weaves. Even girls who were holding on to weaves, then they were like, you know what, I'm not going to go through the pain and retightening. And then they were doing clip-ins. And now a lot of girls are figuring out the real trick that a lot of hair masters use, especially in film and TV. Even if someone has like beautiful hair, what they do is, the actor doesn't want to sit there and go through hair. So they just take out the hairline. Like I know Oscar James does this all the time. He works with everyone from Tiffany Haddish to everyone. Take the hairline out, and then they just put the hair back, pin curls, then you put a fall on. Or what he does, the real secret, which I learned, is he takes these lace front wigs and cuts the lace real close,
Real
slide it
close.
in real close, and then puts just the
Oh,
hairline over the lace so you don't even peep that lace.
I am gonna hit her up in her DMs. I need to figure out some wig tricks from Oscar James. I miss
Oh,
Oscar
Oscar
James.
serves. Oh my, he
Yeah.
serves that. He's probably gonna be pissed I told this trick, but he'll straight up. And even if the wig, if they like, I've seen him cut even the lace front, go right into it, cut it all the lace off, and just slide it into, the hairline,
Oh, so it
and all these, yeah, and
lays.
it just lays
Yeah.
over.
Ugh,
But Oscar does like, everybody, that's like
yeah.
all these future actors, so he knows what he's doing with that. But yeah, the
Yeah,
industry has changed. Um,
definitely.
yeah, the last question really is in the last chat. You and I were talking about how judging takes almost 10 hours. And if that's, and it says, I mean, at least the judges can sit down. The girls have to stand for 10 hours is the question mark. I think that would be pretty exhausting in their heels. Well, we do take breaks, and the girls
Tape
go in and out,
changes, tape
tape
and battery
changes.
change.
And when they do tape and battery change, the girls would say, okay, we're gonna do like a 5 minute break. And most of the girls would either squat, sit on the floor, take their shoes off. And yeah, they would take a minute.
Yeah, yeah. We did that at Drag Race too. Like none of us stood there because it would take about as long, and our heels were definitely a lot higher than those bitches.
The girls on top model. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
corsets, and we had tape back here, and we had, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was,
Must be
a
really
rest.
uncomfortable.
There's definitely some resting moments. I don't think that anyone is ever treated like some, everyone's treated fine. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there are
Oh,
those
good.
breaks.
Well, that was the last of the pulled questions. I see everyone else is down there. Is if for any in the last minutes, is there anything that we didn't cover that you guys need the answer? Someone said give them chairs. The reason they didn't really bring them chairs is because you'd have to put them in, pull them out. That adds even more time.
Well,
Um,
there was only a few chairs, and I was sitting on one.
and
So
someone
get,
said tucked for 10 hours. He's talking to you or he or she, whoever that was, and tucked for 10 hours.
and if I'm
Uh,
sitting on a chair, though, none of those girls get a chair. So.
exactly. Oh, why did Twiggy leave? Yes, this is Twiggy's last cycle, I believe,
Oh,
with
was it?
China. Yeah. Um, I think at that point, there was a lot of discussion about kind of refreshing that chair, because, we'd had Janice originally, and there was a look to maybe bringing in someone new.
Hmm.
How do you work? You did take Twiggy's makeup, and Twiggy is a wonderful person, not difficult to deal with, amazing person. Did she ever express like, oh, I think I'm done? Like it's a harrowing experience doing these shows 7 days a
Well,
week.
what I think people don't realize is that there's so many other voices that go into this. It's not just one personal decision of like, I don't want to be here anymore, or
Mm,
there are so many different voices that factor into how the judges come in and out.
mm,
For instance, after the last season I was on ANTM, I was let go, but it was just kind of like, okay, because it was time for them to change. It was time for them to
Hmm.
kind of evolve and really kind of represent the fashion industry as it actually is, which is changing. There's a different makeup artist and a different hair person and a different designer and stylist at every shoot. And I think it's just change. It's just you can't keep the same fucking show over and over again. You can have one
Hmm.
host, you can have one a presence like yourself or Miss J, but it doesn't always it has to remain fresh. And
Hmm.
Twiggy was there for quite a while. She was there for a few years. I enjoyed the time that I worked with
Hmm.
her. But then I also got to work with Paulina Porskova.
Who
Um,
was wonderful, and I can talk about her on the cycle, but I just think, first of all, I think even when it came to working with you, whenever that season, I forget what season that was. I think it wasn't even a creative thing, to be honest with you. There were a lot of shifts and changes within budgets. I think
hmm
that was a lot of the factoring into the team. And
Yeah.
you have to always honor kind of seniority and people going there. And it was just kind of we you guys always kind of got a raise, so it was like it was like a cap budget. It wasn't a creative thing, because I know that was something that was just discussed from a production side. It really wasn't a creative
Well,
thing.
I think people mistake like the type of work that we do in television as like everyday kind of job. Like there is no tenure to it. It's a very frivolous like either you're in or you're out. Like, it's like it
It's the
moves, it
business.
shifts, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's never the same people. And I had to learn that for myself. I had no
Hmm.
resentments after I left America's Next Top Model. In fact, my life flourished after. And
Yeah.
it's just a wave, and it just moves, and it shifts, and that's how you keep it interesting. If we had the same fucking people on a show all the time, I don't even want to see Twiggy on another episode of it. I think she was perfect after she left, and I love Twiggy. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
it, it was done for her,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was time to bring somebody else in, and that's just how we keep entertainment interesting. It isn't
Yeah.
always the same. It isn't always the same people that are constantly there. That people get so familiar and close with us, but it's
Yeah.
entertainment. It
It's
just
entertainment. Yeah.
it ebbs and flows.
And since you're giving us wise words, and I think we've reached the end of our hour, which we went a little bit over,
Did
what are
we?
the
Oh my
wise
God.
words for today on Juneteenth, in the midst of still everything the world's going through? What are the wise words? Last week you said we need to vote, which absolutely, please,
Yeah.
voting is so key. We're seeing amazing change right now, just with people
Yeah.
still out there, in terms of policy. And I think our Supreme Court justices are, they're coming together for the people right now. But what are your wise
Mm-hmm.
words, Sutan? You always have them.
I right now I have a really nice sense of relief after hearing the judgments from the Supreme
Hmm.
Court, and I have a certain warmth, and there's some points in my days, or yesterday in particular, where I was just kind of teary-eyed about it. And I
Yeah.
think there are still people on our side, and I think that
Hmm.
there are people in full support, and we are woke as fuck. If we have never been woke before, we are all woke now and listening. And I am just constantly listening and
Yes.
learning through this process. And I'm
Yeah.
not done with reminding people to vote. I think this
This
administration needs to
election,
change.
yeah. And this
And
election
and
is
honey,
critical.
I can't even believe it's the end of June already. Like
I know.
November is right around the corner, and we have our responsibility to vote. To
Yeah.
done. No,
We've got to
done.
vote. We can't have the last election where people who were eligible to vote, half the people eligible just said, we're not even going out because I don't like either candidate. We got to get out there. And
I want to see America in a celebratory kind of feeling again. I want us to take some sort of pride and excitement in being part of this country, and it's been very difficult for me.
yeah.
I've been very T with Mussolini. You know that film?
Yeah, of course. Of
Yeah, I've been
course.
very that. I'm like trying to figure out where I can go to just hide and be and wear a fancy.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
that.
If you fancy, yeah.
Share in
Yes,
particular.
exactly. So we need to kind of get to a place. But all of this had to happen to get to this point. So we
Oh,
have to kind of move through this. But thank you guys for tuning in, and Sutan, thanks for like breaking
Yeah.
down this cycle, which for me, I'm glad I got to do this with you because again, this was just kind of the cycle that I did not have a lot of fun and it was difficult, but we had amazing girls and we were just there for
Yes.
them, and this was fun.
And I'm especially glad to see that we had Jenna join us today, and we
Yes,
had
Jenna.
Bianca, and I think Celicia popped
Celicia
in
was
for a second,
on,
and
and then we had
Detox was
Heidi and
here.
Detox and everybody. Yeah, yeah. Great,
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, Jay, have a
Finish your.
wonderful day. I'm gonna just quickly show you. There's the pool outside
Ooh,
right
you are
there,
living it up in Palm Springs. Well, enjoy the weekend,
baby. And
girls.
there's my friend Arnold, who's an
Hey,
amazing chef,
Arnold.
and he's an amazing chef. So we're gonna have wonderful meals, and I'm gonna enjoy the pool, and I'm gonna see you
Jealous.
very, 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 very soon. I hope.
Awesome.
I
I'll
love
talk to
you,
you later.
Jay. I
Love you
love you
too.
guys. Thanks for
Bye, guys.
watching.
Bye. Isis is on too. Everyone.
Oh,
See you
bye,
guys.
sis. Bye.
Bye.